I would like to invite Ms. Sruti Chatterjee to kindly start the presentation on virtual reality. And there is a request to her, please on your video while giving your presentation.
Good afternoon to all present here. So I'm starting with the presentation. So for today, I'm going to present on this topic of virtual reality. These are the topics which I'm going to cover. What is virtual reality, augmented reality and mixed reality, history, working, understanding, applications, what VR in India, the changes virtual reality is going to have in the few years coming, the effect that coronavirus is going to have on virtual reality, advantages and disadvantages. So let's move on. So to all present here, I think once or the other, you have heard about the anywhere door that's used in Doraemon. I hope you have. It's an imaginary door through which whenever Nobita opens it, he lands up to an imaginary place. This is what actually virtual reality is aiming its way towards. Coming to its definition, virtual reality is the use of computer techniques to create a stimulated environment by stimulation of as many senses as possible, such as vision, hearing, touch, etc. The computer is transformed into a gatekeeper to this artificial world. A living example can be given, such as in many of the films you have seen. One of it is like Ravan, in which Shah Rukh Khan creates a suit and a headgear, wearing which you land up to an imaginary world of Ravan and imagine yourself fighting with him, although you're in the same place. This is what actually virtual reality does. It creates a different imaginary world for you, which appears to be exactly real, but is not existing. Now, coming to the segregations. Reality can be classified into three parts, virtual reality being one of it. The rest two are augmented reality and mixed reality. Virtual reality immerses a user in a fully artificial digital world. That is, whenever you're wearing a headgear or any of the virtual reality devices, you land up to a completely imaginary world, which is segregated or completely detached from the real world. So I can say that there are questions which you can ask while you are on whether you are using virtual reality, augmented reality or mixed reality. They are that is the user aware of the real world in virtual reality? No. There is no connection of the virtual world and the real world. Whereas in augmented reality, it's just an overlaying of virtual objects on real life world. Such as, I think we all have heard about the Pokemon Go app, which became famous few years back, or the Snapchat lenses, which just places stickers on our faces as we view on them. So that's what augmented reality does. It just overlays virtual objects on a real living world. And coming to mixed reality, it is a mixture of virtual and augmented reality. In mixed reality, virtual objects are taken up and placed on a real augmented life. Like, I hope you all have visited any science city or any such institutes where these scientific things and stuffs are displayed. So one such common thing you would see that in a box, there is a cube which is rotating, which is virtually created. We can touch it, we can play with it, but it's not real. So one of the best examples is a 3D window. I don't think this is much used in India, but in most of the countries, we have a virtual window where we can click or slide or do the same action which we do on the laptop itself, but in a completely digital form. So this is all about the three things. And let's move on. Coming to the history of virtual reality. Now, the common devices which we see are the most recent headgears, like the Oculus Rift or Go. But these are created on a way that's been paving from 1830s. In 1838, the first stereoscope was invented, using twin mirrors to project a single image. Then this was taken forward by, in 1938, when a Viewmaster was created. And do you know this fact that the 3D movies that we see are actually based on this stereoscopic photography? So we can imagine that we are basically using the way that's been paving from 1830s. Then in 1957, Morton Helling built a single user console called Sonorama that is able to take the user to watch TV in a 3D way. He was a filmmaker, and one day it just struck him that why not, if we can have a device which could give the users a 3D effect while they're watching the movie. That's what landed him to make this Sonorama. In 1965, Ivan Sultan, Ivan Sutherland was the first person who created a head-mounted device that he suggested to serve as a window into a virtual world. Since then, there were much reforms and experimentations which were conducted with virtual reality. Some of them being the Vue created by NASA in 1989. Then a range of arcade games and machines by the Virtuality Group in 1991, and Nintendo Virtual Boy, a 3D gaming console in 1995. And since then, the competition between the VR headgears began. In 2012, it was the Oculus Kickstart, which actually gave a new start to the VR headgears. Till now, before 2012, VR was a technology which was facing much loss. But this Oculus Rift was that something which brought immense profit to VR. And in 2014, leading to the Facebook buying Oculus. This year was very precious for VR technology since it had seen much changes. It saw the launch of Google Cardboard, PSVR, that is the PlayStation virtual gadget, and the Samsung Gear VR. VR became a hot topic until then. Coming to the latest devices that VR has provided us, it's the Oculus Quest, Oculus Rift, and Oculus Go, which are trending now. And currently, there is competition that persists between the top-notch companies like Oculus, HTC, Samsung, and Google for VR, and Microsoft, Magic, Leap, Meta, and ODG for AR. Now, the common question comes, how does VR actually works? So, virtual reality stimulation requires two main parts. One is the source of content that we are going to see, and the other thing is the device, means which serves the means of providing us that content. Software and hardware, in other words. Currently, such systems include headsets, all-directional treadmills, special gloves, goggles. VR tools should be providing realistic, natural, and high-quality images and interaction possibilities. For this, devices rely on measurements like image resolution, that is the quality of the image, field of view, that is the direction, that is the degree of view that is provided. The more it is, the more better quality of resolution it is considered. Like the Oculus has a field view of near about 120 degree to 160 degree, whereas the Google Cardboard has a FOV of about 90 degrees. So this is what the top-notch companies are competing to bring about more and more changes and advancement to it. Next, coming are the refresh rates, motion of delay, pixel persistence, and audio and video synchronization. Next, understanding VR development. What if you or me wants to develop something in VR? So how to start or what to do? Simple. Everything is pre-created, or this is something which has become a hot topic. So there are a lot of applications which can be utilized to build as a building block for VR. Firstly is the design and prototype tools. These are the Sketch, Blender, 3ds Max, and Maya 3D 4D, Cinema 4D. These are some of the applications which are used for designing the interface of the VR. Like this picture which you see is a user interface which has been created through Sketch. Now, next is the Web VR libraries. It is a recent addition to the VR technology development family. Simply put, this is a JavaScript API that allows us to experience VR in most modern browsers. Some of these are the AR, the A-Frame, which is an open source Mozilla project that allows to create VR experience using HTML. Then comes the React 360, which is a program specifically aimed at creating a rich display using some of the Java scripts and Reacts. And others are Primrose, Visor.io, Janus VR, X3 Dome. Coming to the game engines. Game engines are the most popular engines or applications which bring this VR interfaces to reality. It's the most popular ones are Unity, Unreal Engine, and CryEngine. Unity being the most popular one, which has owned almost 45% of the market. It uses C#, object-oriented scripting language, to write commands for game objects. Game engines are normally programs that are specifically aimed at creating rich and immersive and realistic worlds. So these are actually the programs which which we write to bring our interfaces into reality. Next comes the Unreal Engines. Unreal Engines lining up in the second position, owning up to 17% of the market, which uses C++ language. And CryEngines as the third most recent one, which also uses C++ language and is most famous for weather and water effects. Lastly, the things that we need are platforms and SDKs. SDKs means software development kits, which are provided by these headgears, or what we say, the recent HMDs, head-mounted devices. They are categorized into two parts. One is high-end VRs and mainstream VRs. High-end are the ones which are which use PC processors and consoles, and mainstreams are the ones which use mobile processors. Thirdly, if somebody wants to really research on this topic, then Google already has an inbuilt site for it, that is developers.google/VR, where you have all the documentations that is required for further studying or knowing much about VR. Moving on, coming to the applications of VR. VR has a widespread application. These are four things which I found were the most used, or the fields where it's being taken up more seriously. One is military, healthcare, education, and entertainment. In military, it's generally used for training the officials. I don't know it's a known fact or not, but 2 out of 20 in the military members are believed to get injured or hurt themselves in the training session. So how to help them? Virtual reality is the one which can save and make things easier. It can provide a vivid visualization through which the military members can face the situations which they have to face in actual war fields. And this is being adopted by many countries, like the US Army Fort Bragg is developing VR programs that will provide realistic programs with maximum risk of life. And Australia is also funding Defense Audience Technology Group for this purpose as well. Coming to virtual reality in healthcare, virtual reality can serve in healthcare in many ways. And this is one field which is adapting VR at a very high scale. It can help in surgery stimulation, phobia treatment, robotic surgery, skill training, and also patient education. Now, coming to the most interesting one is the virtual reality in education. We all have studied history and geography, And there was a chapter named tourism in our syllabus, I remember. So what if one day you get to see all the places that are in the book in real life? What if by sitting inside the classroom you get a view of Taj Mahal, or you get to see the World War One or World War Two in actual? How would that be? It's going to be interesting. I think history and geography are going to be the most favorite subjects of most of the students if this thing comes to reality. And the most interesting part is it is coming to reality. And it is even being adapted in India as well. It's a report which says that most of some government schools of Karnataka have even adopted this VR system in their educational curriculum. And it's not much late that this is going to be a part of most of the schools in India. Looking forward for it. Next, coming to virtual reality and entertainment. The VSVR, which is the PSVR, PlayStation Virtual Reality, is something very popular with kids nowadays. It has almost more than 200 games inbuilt in it. And more of it are like virtual museums, visuals, theaters, virtual theme parks, and discovery centers are also coming to life. So someday or the other, we don't have to go too far to experience how a roller coaster feels like. It's just by sitting at some center, we can experience all the rides that we have in Science City or Nico Park. So I hope that day is not much far. Or maybe the PUBG playing, which is done in just phone, may be done in reality too. So let's see. Now, India. Coming to what is the state of virtual reality in India? India is not far away from it. One famous example is the Byju's app, which uses AR system, that is augmented reality, to make its lessons more playful and more visually effective for the students. If we have seen the ads of Byju's, I think you all can have the idea how augmented reality is being used by the Byju's. And maybe there are more such apps coming out in next few years. Next is that the software giant TCS has showcased a virtual chemistry lab. It's in Tamil Nadu, where the students can enter a virtually created chemistry lab just by wearing the Oculus Rift headgears. They can even do experimentations over there by taking test tubes and doing all sorts of things that's done in a normal chemistry lab. So can you think what effect can it have? Like in a common chemistry lab, the normal fund that's required is nearly 3 crores for everything, for all the equipments. And now it has come down to about 60,000 for it. So this is the change which India is going through. And maybe after a few years or just nearly 10 years, this is something which is going to be familiar to each and every school in India. Next, coming to Abhi Mitra, instructor at Centrium University, is using VR to document tribal art and artifacts. The one such thing is that visual effects, the effect that visual has on users is much greater than what only text or only something which can be read has. So there is someone named Abhimitra who is trying hard to create visual effects and encourage the tribal arts and artifacts of India. So this is one, and one more is healthcare. In this field also India is not lagging behind. There are hospitals like Be Able Healthcare Center in Bangalore, which has taken up AR and VR solutions for treating its patients. And next is Color Splat. Color Splat is a 3D game which has been created by Lochan Vishwanath, an engineering student from Bangalore, and is even featured in Unity's keynotes. So we can see what innovations that India is even doing in case of VR. It's just 5 pointed out here. There are more to be enlisted, and I wish in the next coming years, it just the count just increases, keeps on increasing. Now coming to the future of virtual reality. A few days back, we had a session on 5G. So 5G and VR are going to be very good friends right now because 5G is going to have a very good effect on VR. As I said before, that VR depends on several factors, and 5G is something which is going to improvise the speed of VR. So in 2020, at the end of it, we can have much faster effect of VR. In 2021, it's predicted that AR and VR are to merge to create new user experience. Virtual humans are going to drive the use of VR. That means in 2021, we can even have virtual humans interacting with us. In 2025, interactions with VR can be made with handheld devices. Right now, what we have are the head-held devices, that is head-mounted devices, HMD, most popularly said. So by 2025, we are also going to have handheld devices. If we take the magic watch that Ben 10 had, maybe that's going to come real by 2025. We're really going to have such devices. Then coming to 2026, VR headsets to look like sunglasses. Right now, the VR headsets which we have are quite heavy and quite uncomfortable to handle, I feel. But by 2026, we are expected to have a much simpler structure to this headset. 2030, experience life of Mars. That means just by wearing or just by using such devices, we can experience the life outside the Earth, like in Mars. And then 2050, replace high street shopping. That is, right now what we are having online shopping, but that doesn't provide us a means of trial. Like we can't try out the outfits which we see online. But by 2050, VR is going to make things possible like this. Just by sitting in our own homes, we can try out all the outfits that we see online. That's about the future. And now, the most interesting part is that what coronavirus crisis had an effect on virtual reality. So I want to ask you all, how many of you were familiar with this app of Zoom or had used it before this pandemic arised? Not me, and maybe not most of you all, because the Zoom count went from 10 millions to 300 millions. And we know that if one technology becomes famous in this technological world, then there are much more reforms that are coming to it. And right now, there are several reforms that have been created for Zoom. Like there is an artificial window concept by Argo Design, which stimulates working next to a colleague right down the eye contact. So, and then there is also Virbela, which is helping previously in-person conference move to computer-based video game-like experience. And while I was researching, I also got one app named Spaces, which gives you a virtual reality feeling while having a conference on Zoom. So we can see how fast things are increasing just because this Zoom has come in demand. And the next thing which COVID has made very clear is that environment around us does matter. I think we all are just stuck up in our homes, and we just hope when this pandemic is going to come to an end and we can just go around and roam freely. So one solution to it is using a VR. We can just sit at our own homes and enjoy and nourish the beauty of nature just by a few clicks of button. This is what VR can make possible. And that's why VR is going to have a much greater popularity even after this crisis, because it has shown a new way how this sort of crisis can be dealt. Next, and the last topic which I am covering are the pros and cons of virtual reality. Pros, it helps with impressive visualization. Obviously, anyone who gets to visualize a whole new world just by mere clicks of button and just by merely wearing a headgear Who doesn't like it? It's a different thing. It's a different world itself. Creating interest. As I said before, if history and geography comes to life, who doesn't have an interest to learn it? I think people are going to enjoy those more, much more than what they are doing right now. Then is facilitates retaining of information. Things which we see are going to have much greater effect on our brains than things that we hear. So since virtual reality brings us an immense sort of visualization, so this thing is something which is a very strong point. Then helps to overcome language barrier. Like if we move to a different area for any sort of work, then we need to adapt to that area or the language that's dominant in that area. But right now, that's not really needed because we can just sit in our homes and move to anywhere we want without being familiar to what languages they use or what particular culture they are used to. Next, moving to the cons or disadvantages of virtual reality. It is addictive. Obviously, since we have got our smartphones in our hands, if somebody just tells you to use those Nokia phones that were the first phones ever discovered, would you like to use them? Obviously, no. So that's what if you are giving somebody a 3D effect or giving somebody the experience of moving to an unrealistic world, then who won't like to take it every time they get an opportunity? So it's addictive. Next is provide no room for interaction. Firstly, when I said that VR has two components. One is the content and one is the interface where it is being displayed or the device. So the software which is inbuilt in it, it's already created. It can't be changed. So suppose I'm attending a geography lesson through VR. The lesson is already created by somebody and I don't have I don't have the liability of changing it or putting forward what my doubts are. Nobody is going to solve it because it's created from first. Virtual reality is not going to help in it. I need somebody else to solve that doubt. And lastly, it's expensive. One thing, because this technology is very new, I won't say new, but recently it has gained peaks and it's still developing. There is no end to this. And the materials which are used or the inbuilt systems that are used are very complex, and that's why this leads to making this expensive. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. Now I would like to ask Dinesh sir, what is your intake for this presentation?
Why do you want to make me the first person to speak about it? But what I'm very happy about the way she presented the enthusiasm that she put in, a lot of technicalities, some of them I could understand, some of them I could not. But then I think this is exactly the purpose of these webinars that we have here under Infovue, that you come out with a very interesting topic which is useful to everyone. I'm really happy the way Sruti, the input that Sruti has put in, the effort that she's put in. I'm sure she's been working very hard on this, and that is what makes it very meaningful. We want to upload all these webinars into our website. So that system I want to start. We should not miss out on them. These are very valuable presentations, very useful, and one of the good parts of this particular presentation that Sruti did was that it's very, very contemporary. She was talking about today and tomorrow and not yesterday. She did not come out with something which was applicable to a month back or 6 months back. What we are seeing now, the reality of the world, that's what she has been able to bring out, and that's what made it very interesting, and also showed that she's actually taken a lot of recent developments into consideration. So thank you, Shruti, so much, and I'm sure I want few more questions. I want a lot of questions from all of you to make it more lively and meaningful. Don't worry about the quality of the questions. The quality of discussion is very important. So I don't have much to ask as such, but I'm sure the technical people here and Sayantan sir and people like Pranjal are going to have a lot of questions. And let's see how Shruti handles them.
All right, with your questions, sir, if you have any. I would love to try to answer it, sir. Everyone, please proceed.
Yeah, please, please. Let's have a lot of questions. Let's make it very lively and meaningful. Shruti,
Hello.
one question I did not understand. I missed it out. But why do you call? Why did you say that it is costly? Virtual reality. I thought it's very cheap. No expenses, nothing.
Um, Actually, the Oculus Rift or Go, that the latest technologies that are coming out, they cost about 80,000, and the cheapest one, that is Oculus Go, is about 27,000. So it's expensive for mediocre people because they can have just a smartphone at the rate of 10,000 or 13,000, and buying those Oculus Go or Oculus Lift is going to cost them about 3 or 8 times the rate. That's why.
How would they change the interaction or the process? Santon, you can tell me this
Sir?
Oculus port that she spoke, Oculus system or what?
It's
Yeah, go ahead, Sruti.
it's like, sir, if you wear that headgear, it is going to appear as if I am sitting just right over here. Shantan sir is right in front of you. It's going to give a what view we are getting right now. It's just a 2D figure. It's on the screen. That is going to give you a 360-degree angle view.
It is not going to give you
Okay.
there is a correction here. It is not going to give a 360-degree view. So basically our mind can process up to 170 degrees of vision, right? That is
Yeah.
the max we can see, right? So our computers, the VR system that will be there, they will be processing 170 degree of data at the specific point of time. So once we turn, it is going to process the whole center along with that, right? So Anjali here, she's the doctor. She might be knowing that these days surgeries are also being performed by VR and augmented stuff, right? What they do, they just wear those headset, their Google glasses sort of things. They wear them and they just, okay, I can see it, and they start operating on people, right? With machines, isn't it, Anjali? So they do it, and it's currently being used in Hong Kong. They are being used in Singapore mostly. The what do you call it? Surgeons there. They are so costly. They can't afford people from coming. The people can't afford them. So what they do, they give this tech. They send the tech. The tech is comparatively cheaper, right? एक बार एक डॉक्टर को लेके आएंगे तो $60,000 देना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? टेक आ जाएगा 1,20,000 में, तो 10 बार ऑपरेशन करवा लेंगे एक बार में. So it's like something like that. So the cost effectiveness is there, and that's how they work on it. And there are machines, minute machines, like Intel currently is using this reality technology to create processor. Just imagine 1 millionth of a millimeter, right? That small is your computer processor, right? So that thing cannot be designed with what do you call it, human hands. It can't be done by that. We have come a long way from transistors. So that thing is being done by people who are sitting in maybe somewhere outside of their Intel office. They are using robots. They are what do you call it, minutely fixing things and doing them down. So it's like a 170 view, which actually helps the processing of the whole system. You get to see the whole picture, but it's like bits जोड़ के एक पूरा picture आ जाता है.
Okay.
मतलब अभी
Okay,
अगर हम लोग
I'm sure the cost will come down someday. We'll be able to buy it.
So that is also being worked upon, right? People are working on it. There are technological upgradations also been happening. Intel has invested recently around $500 million in AR. What they are trying to do, they are trying to create faster processes at cheaper rates. Basically, this whole process requires a huge amount of computing power, right? You only imagine, एक second में you are seeing this, again this second you are seeing this, right? It is moving. So this is something that requires a lot of computing power. So
A lot of
power
a
होगा,
lot
उसका
of
भी एक limitation है.
lot of internet also, I'm sure. We are not yet we built on that.
Internet is basically being worked upon, sir.
Okay,
सब जगह
let's
पे
get on
गिरा
to more technical questions. Abdul and others, Adit, Amrita, Pranjal. Let's have some lively discussion. I'm very happy about it.
So may I?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
What is it?
You compared VR with AR before. So may I know what's the key difference between AR and VR?
See, VR is like it is in a traditional user interface. What we say, it's a plain thing.
You have
In VR,
devices,
it
right,
places the
Ajay?
user inside the experience.
It's like in simple terms, we all are familiar with a game, right? GTA Vice City, Grand Theft Auto,
Yeah,
Vice
yes.
City.
Yes.
That is a VR game, right? You get to see it. You can't enter it, right?
Yeah.
And in case of, let's say, those everyone has seen this Robot 1 or Robot 2 movie, right? In
Yeah.
that you basically you can see that they are getting into it. People are jumping into the field, they are diving, they are doing whatnot. So that is like augmented. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So
Even there
both.
is a famous example of the Pokemon Go that is
Yep, yep, yep.
actually implementation of the AR system.
Yeah, that was the initial start. That was initially started along with there was another game, Google Maps. Google Maps, there was this small game of
Yes, yes.
collecting reviews with VR technology. These days also this 360-degree cameras Google Maps use. So they just take the pictures. You can actually visualize people. There's people standing. I actually go to Eiffel Tower sometimes, so I can see that. Something like that.
Hello,
Yeah,
uh,
Amrita.
Stuti. So I would like to ask you a question. And firstly, kudos on your excellent presentation. It was very amazing and interesting. I wanted to ask you. It's like I want your opinion on one thing. So you said that virtual reality is being able. I mean, it will be introduced in schools in India as well. And mostly they'll be covering geography and history, those social studies subjects. So as everything has its pros and cons, on what account, on what level do you
You muted yourself,
Hello.
Amrita. Chamuta might be getting a
Uh,
call.
hello, hello? Yeah, sorry.
You got a call,
Hello,
right?
yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Please.
So I want your opinion on this question that how fair do you think is to introduce virtual reality in schools? I mean, there can be cons like health issues or our brains are already getting smaller with the increasement of technology. So I want to know your opinion. So I hope you got my question.
Yeah. I got it. It's more of a debate related question, but I would say why not? See, you have learned history, right? History was a very bad subject for me because it we had to learn so much about it. So think if you could just spend 1 hour to see a video which just shows the whole timeline or the whole Indian history, what Mahatma Gandhi did, what Subhash Chandra Bose did. I think those things are going to stay in your mind for a much longer time. You don't have to spend the rest 3 hours just going through the books and mugging up all those things. If you just spend the next half an hour to just go through the notes, I think it's going to stay in your mind. I said one of the most pros of VR is that retention of what you have studied. It's
So
going
basically,
to have a good effect. And coming to the health issue, I think every child nowadays from I think from class 7 or 8 or maybe even nursery kids are getting smartphones. They are just indulged in the smartphone the whole day. So why not just spend 1 hour a day on VR to learn something which is going to be good for you?
So you said that हम videos देख के भी वो चीजें ये कर सकते हैं. So why virtual reality? I mean, aren't you taking the privilege of books from the students? I mean, जो books हमें reading between the lines सिखाती है, जो books से हमें knowledge मिलता है, you're just putting it into a virtual reality whatever model, right? And also about the health issues. Now we are being casual over here, like देते तो है parents अब दे दिया अब ये भी कर लेते हैं, but why not eliminating those things and making a better world? I mean, technology is obviously making our lives easy, but I think it's also
Yes,
making
Amrita,
us
you got a very nice
lazy.
point. Excellent point, and I'm sure, like Sruti said, it's an excellent point for debate and discussions.
Yeah,
Let the
I think that's
parliament,
why
let the
I was not
parliament, and
sure.
let United Nations discuss it. We will come down to smaller things and just have very nice point,
Okay,
Amrita.
so I think
It's
I'll
something.
just call Stuti and discuss it with her
It's a
later.
very
Just
interesting
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
just for your note, Amrita,
Yeah,
Oxford University a few years back did a survey, right? They did a survey
yeah,
with around 500 students, and just a note, they found out
yeah.
that almost 70% of the students remembered everything that was shown to them on video rather than given books. They were given books of same topic, and they could remember more better when they were shown a better virtual experience. So I think our human brains are also accustomed in remembering things which we see,
Yeah,
not read.
books will be there, newspaper will be there. We'll still have online news. We'll still have the
No, sir,
newspaper.
I agree.
We'll continue to have a
Uh,
combination of everything. So we'll
yeah,
have some.
actually, I agree with
तो आपका
virtual
कोई बुक
reality's
लेकर के नहीं
idea.
भागने वाला है। आप बुक पढ़ो
No, no, no,
और
no, sir. Actually,
दोनों
Stuti was right. It can be like we can debate it on it for an hour, like exactly. But ऐसा है कि I have my opinions on this, and I would like to discuss it someday, not now. But
no,
yeah,
no,
we
sure,
can
sure.
discuss it
Maybe
on
our next
someday.
presentation, your presentation, when you have it, we'll have it on something similar. Like how can we make everything more? How can we have a more human technology?
Yeah, for sure.
That is why we are trying to develop AI, isn't it, sir? That we are giving the brains to the computers. So yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead. Thank you,
Let's
Amrita.
move on. Let's have
Yes, sir.
more
I have a
discussion.
question, sir. Sir, one last question.
I was waiting
Why
for you.
last? Why last is we'll have more questions.
I have thousands of
So,
questions.
Shruti, is there
Yes.
any games currently working on VR?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are PS VR, that is PlayStation VR, which is much famous and it has almost over 200 games in it.
No,
And even as I said,
a game which is available on Play Store.
You can't have a game available on Play Store because the
No, sir.
devices that we currently
Yes, sir. The device is there, but there's an app for it. I am asking about that, sir.
okay, I couldn't understand actually what you said.
yes,
No, sir. We have an app like it's called Father.io. It's like a real life CS:GO game. The gear's around 30,000, so we can't afford it. But it's a cool concept.
Yeah, okay, that kind of games are being developed, so
Yes.
they are being developed. Don't
सर
worry.
पर वो गन से मारने में
Even
ज्यादा मजा आता है ना.
right. ऐसे भी गेम्स है, अनरियल टूर्नामेंट है, वो गन वाला गेम भी आ रहा है और गेम नहीं आ रहा है, डेवलपमेंट गेम्स नहीं आ रहा है. Okay, any more queries, guys? अच्छा, there is
Anamika has a question.
a question. Mixed reality. Would you like to answer it, Sruti? On the chat?
what question?
On the chat, just check the chat.
What's an example of mixed reality? Mixed reality, okay. Now, most famous example I'll give that it's a window display. That is in many companies they have the screen which I'm seeing right now. This can be displayed in a whole wall, and just merely by sliding it or by clicking it, I can perform the same action which I do on this laptop. That is one of the example of mixed reality.
I can give also another example. If we are using Windows, we can just search mixed reality. It will come.
Yeah.
Half of your words went away actually.
ऐसा नहीं सर, मतलब विंडोज अगर कोई विंडोज 10 यूज कर रहा है तो बस सर्च में मिक्स रियलिटी मारेंगे तो सर उधर एक पोर्टल टाइप का आएगा, उसमें एक्सपेरिमेंट कर सकते हैं, अपने कंधे पे डायनासोर भी बैठा सकते हैं.
There are so many modules that are being designed and developed. We have to wait for the perfect technology to come into play, right? So people are working with quantum computers. They are going to work out with them, right? So once the quantum computers and quantum mechanics comes into play, things are going to be much more easier. Though we are going to reach our computing limits, right? Computing limits अगर reach हो गया, फिर आगे बढ़ना मुश्किल हो जाएगा. But yeah, systems will be much more easier and things will be much more calmer, right?
Yes sir.
So that's about
I
AR
can
and
give the
VR.
practical.
What do you say, Sru?
Yes,
Go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, since I was giving examples from movies because people have already seen them, One such example of mixed R, like MR, is that in Krish movie, if you have seen Rohit, the person, he actually builds up a computer which is being displayed, a digital computer. That is an example of mixed reality. Digital computer screen.
Future, and he just swipes with his hand.
Yes.
So that is like you're sitting inside a computer and trying to, you can feel it. The fingers can feel it. There are lots of actually movies on this tech, so you can try it out.
Varun says Iron Man.
Iron Man is not exactly a mixed reality. It's like more of robotics. There is no mixed reality in it. It's not VR. It's something like a robotics. There is a AI. क्या नाम था उसका? What is that AI? Jarvis controls everything. Okay, so any more queries or should we move to next presentation? Interesting topic, Sruti. Good job, well done.
Thank you everyone.